Hey, welcome back. Today we've got a good one as we check out Wetwired episode 23 of season 3. Wetwired debuted May 10th, 1996 and puts our agents in the middle of a strange set of murders and a device that makes people see their greatest fears. The episode begins in the dead of night as some guy is digging a rather impressive hole. It's not so much a hole as it is a shallow grave. Yeah, no one's gonna find the body there. When he returns home, it looks like he did a piss poor job of killing the man because he's returned from the dead. Nothing a well-placed smack from a shovel can't handle. The police arrive and they all look the same as well. So of course our friend does the rational thing and tackles one of them, but nothing a good tasing can't solve. I don't know what the hell is going on, but the police are now turning into Super Mario.
Jimmy, check this out.
Sarah?
Oh god, not Sarah! She was my favorite character on the show! Anyways, Mulder is waiting in a sketchy part of town when a strange guy enters his car. I will say it's been like 5 minutes and I haven't seen one frog yet. Is this even the X-Files? I'm really shocked it wasn't a hooker. I mean, he could have gotten the hookup from Skinner. The mystery man, who even Mulder doesn't know, simply hands him a newspaper containing an article on what we just saw in the beginning and offers Mulder no other information, keeping the X-Files track of everyone he comes into contact with, being super vague about everything. At the psychiatric hospital, Mulder brings Scully up to speed on what happened. The man, Joseph Patnick, claims he was killing the same person over and over again. He's killed 5 different people, but to him, they've all been the second coming of Hitler. There have been a few other similar incidents that have occurred as well, so there's definitely something strange going on. They meet with a Dr. Stroman, but he doesn't really have any answers. It doesn't appear to be drugs or anything like that. Maybe the guy just lost his mind. I mean, it happens to the best of us.
Orderly!
I don't know why, but this scream just always cracks me up. Scully wants to know how Mulder found out about this case, but he really knows nothing. It was just some anonymous email and a strange guy he's never seen before, so I don't see a reason not to trust him.
This is school day?
What is with the screaming in this episode? Also, I've seen Die Hard a million times, and a scream like that is definitely not in this scene. Mulder notices a cable repairman doing something, which is odd, because they generally don't fix anything. Scully finds a treasure trove of VHS tapes, but nothing of interest for Mulder. They're just recordings of cable news, which is what Joseph was watching when he lost his marbles. Surprisingly, Mulder watches a few of them, but I don't know why. It's not like anyone is taking their clothes off.
Now, recent studies have linked violence on television to violent behavior.
Oh, give me a break. I remember when they tried this nonsense with heavy metal music and violent video games in the 90s. Still though, Scully thinks there's a link to the violent news reports that Joseph had been watching and his violent behavior. Mulder, on the other hand, has no explanation and goes to bed. Scully spends the rest of the night watching more of the tapes when she hears a phone ring from the other room, and it sounds like Mulder talking to someone. But who could Mulder be talking to at this time of night? Oh well, I'm sure it's nothing. Anyway, Scully needs some more ice, but dear God, anywhere but there, Scully? Do you know how many people pee in those things? Well, Mulder looks suspiciously happy. I wonder who he's talking to. Oh my God. See, I knew there was something fishy about Mulder. The following day, some random woman starts tripping while doing the dishes and notices her husband is in the hammock with someone who isn't her. Now, I'm not condoning cheating, but I'm not sure doing it in the middle of the day within eyesight of your wife is really the smartest move. Scully's still a little shocked from what she saw the previous night, and well, who can blame the poor girl? There's been another murder though, so she's gonna have to suck it up for now and just act normal. Or you can look like you're in a trance, either one works. Scully checks for any sign of cigarettes but finds nothing. For as great a criminal profiler as Mulder is, you'd think he would pick up the fact that Scully is acting a little off. Hey, wait a second, this guy doesn't have a beard. Yet another continuity issue with the X-Files.
So this woman killed her husband because she thought he was cheating on her.
This is not even her husband. Her husband was a long-haul trucker. He's been out of town for the last 10 days.
Oh, it's not the same guy. She shot her neighbor thinking it was her husband cheating on her with a hot blonde. To top it off, it's not even her backyard. I think my grandmother had some of this stuff. Scully opens a trunk in the woman's home and finds a bunch of VHS tapes. But what the hell is Da Tim Goes By? Mulder notices the same cable repairman doing God knows what, because like I said, these guys aren't known for working. But Mulder can't just sit around twiddling his thumbs. He needs to know what this guy is up to. The guy completely ignores Mulder, so Mulder takes it upon himself to find out what the repairman did. He finds a new shiny fuse or something. Scully suggests they take it to Pendrell and have it analyzed, but Mulder, being the sneak that he is, wants to do it himself. I'm sure that won't lead to Scully being even more paranoid than she already is. Also, I would like to point out the biggest X-file in this episode so far. How the hell did Mulder's car get here? There was no car when he ran after the cable guy, but as soon as he climbs down, he steps down onto the trunk. Somehow his car, the car he still has the keys for and no one else drove, just magically appeared. Anyways, enough about a car, because the lone gunmen are gonna tell us what this device is. They spout a bunch of nerdy mumbo jumbo, but the device appears to be sending some unknown signal.
You may have been right, Scully, at least partly. I think there is a foreign signal being introduced into these people's homes through the television set. Scully, you there?
I'm here.
Scully is really starting to get paranoid now. She's even starting to believe that their phone calls are being tapped. She does the Mulder classic of losing her deposit on her room by destroying everything because she thinks someone is spying on her. Someone pulls up and Scully can't take any chances. What if it's CSM's men come to kill her? I don't know how she didn't hit anyone, but Mulder and the motel manager are so damn lucky. The following morning, Mulder calls Scully's mom so he can tell her Scully is missing. Again. What I would love to know is why she only has photos of her daughters. I guess we know who the favorites are. Skin Man arrives on the scene and Mulder is concerned with how the search is being conducted, considering it's Scully they're looking for.
Mulder, I share your concern for Agent Scully, but the fact remains she fired 4 rounds at you and an unarmed civilian last night.
4 shots? I counted 6. What say you, Dr. Loomis?
Come on. I shot him 6 times!
Mulder tells Skinner about the tapes and what he thinks they've done to Scully, so unless Mulder finds her first, she's gonna be in big trouble. Mulder puts out the X signal, but instead gets pulled away by the lone gunmen because they may have found something. What they discover is the device is apparently throwing out subliminal messaging and mind control. You know, you'd have to be incredibly evil to use some kind of subliminal messaging.
This subliminal signal, could color be a factor in it?
Maybe.
I'm red-green colorblind.
Interesting. Up to this point, Mulder's been able to tell the difference between red human blood and green alien blood. They suspect his red-green color blindness to be the reason why Mulder hasn't been affected. But Mulder has more important matters to tend to because it looks like Scully might be dead. Mulder runs into the mystery man again, but he's not interested in anything the guy has to say. If Scully is dead, it's all because of this jackass. Plus, he's super vague about everything anyways and just says, follow the evidence. Like, what else do you think he's been doing this whole time? Mulder checks the body, and luckily it was just another murdered naked redhead. Whew, that was a close one.
Is she here?
No.
You haven't been answering your phone.
Well, when I hear from her, I'll call you.
Scully's mom has a really bad poker face. Scully pulls her gun on Mulder yet again. However, there's no bulletproof door to save his ass this time. She thinks it was Mulder who abducted her, implanted the thing in her neck, and killed her sister. But Mother Scully, who seems to have zero survival instincts, walks in between Dana and Fox and attempts to talk her daughter off the ledge. Well, she succeeded, but it's nice to see Mulder can still have a little fun after nearly being shot again. Mulder tells Scully he thinks this device is bringing out the victim's worst fears, like the woman who was worried her husband would cheat, or Mulder betraying Scully, the one person he never would. Mulder tells her to get some rest, because now he has to find who the hell is behind this. These two women look like they're about to risk everything for a piece of Mulder. He speaks with Scully's doctor, and she found nothing wrong. Outside of a higher than normal serotonin level, there didn't appear to be any cause. Mulder gets the idea to call Dr. Stroman, you know, the doctor that was in one 30-second scene in the beginning of the episode, but it looks like he's no longer working at this psychiatric hospital, but did leave a number where he can be reached.
Is it 555-0135?
That's it.
Thank you.
What are the odds that he just happened to be staying at the same motel as Mulder and Scully? The manager fetches Mulder his phone records, and Mulder finds a Morley cigarette, which as we know is Mulder's favorite brand. With the phone records, Mulder acquires the address of where the calls were made to, so he's gonna check it out. The house looks run down, but there's definitely someone there. Oh well, look who it is, our friend the cable guy. This isn't suspicious at all.
You'll be here. It's almost 7 o'clock. I can't wait this morning.
It's almost 7 o'clock, I can't wait this long. Well, that's weird because when Mulder pulled up, it said it was 5:17. So just how long was Mulder snooping around for? Mulder's a little too late because someone decided to take out Dr. Stroman and the cable guy. And that's our buddy X, who we haven't seen in some time. Mulder had actually been working for X the whole time, he just didn't know it. X was being watched too closely, so he had to send someone else to speak with Mulder.
I see more questions here than I do answers. You don't know who manufactured the device you found or what its purpose was.
Mulder's had cases with way less answers in the past. At least they actually have one of the devices. And what's this? X is canoodling with cigarette-smoking man. Where's Bobby Heenan when you need him?
Yeah, but whose side is he on?
Wetwired is a really good episode. I love the paranoid state Scully finds herself in, second-guessing whether she can trust Mulder or not. I remember seeing this scene with Mulder and CSM in the car together, and my jaw dropped to the floor. Now, he wasn't really with CSM, but it's the X-Files. Anything can happen. But what a twist that would be, although I think the fan base would have rioted. Still though, a very good episode, but the entire thing feels like a corrected version of Blood. The themes and story are very similar to Blood, but it corrects one of the major issues in it, that it actually explains what's going on. Blood never really gives any kind of explanation as to what is causing people to go nuts and kill. There's some vague theories thrown around about pesticides and what have you, but it's nothing concrete. At least here we know it's this device, we know cigarette smoking man is involved, and we know innocent people are being experimented on. These simple additions could have made that episode a much more tense one, but I'm happy with what we got in this. Rob Bowman directed the episode, and when he saw the final cut of it, he said, "I dug the script. I felt it was a good old-fashioned show, and people who didn't like Jose Chunks from Outer Space would like Wetwired because all the bad boys are back. A good clean steak and potatoes type of episode." Wetwired was written by Matt Beck, his one and only writing credit for the show. He's a visual effects artist who just so happened to be working as the show's visual effects supervisor. Why Chris decided to let him write an episode, I have no idea, but it all worked out in the end, and if this is what he was capable of doing, then it's a shame that he was just a one and done. It's probably hard juggling effects work and writing duties simultaneously, so I can understand why he never wrote another episode. He based his story off articles he had read about violent TV shows and movies and how they would affect someone's brain. Like the West Memphis 3, the 3 teen boys accused of murder simply because they listened to heavy metal and played violent video games. Matt wanted to dive more into the neurology of the matter, but as the script was coming along, it was starting to become a little bit too complex, so he was asked to simplify it for the dummies like me that were in the audience. The introduction of the plain-clothed man was simply because Steven Williams was busy with his new show LA Heat. Every time this new character showed up, it was supposed to be Steven, but he just wasn't available. And you can see it in the dialogue. Just change a few words here and there, and the scenes would have played out exactly the same. Steven said the producers of his new show were fans of the X-Files and were willing to work around his schedule. However, it didn't really matter because unfortunately for Steven, LA Heat didn't last very long. X's scene with cigarette smoking man was considered to be a very big deal. The producers did everything they could to make sure the scene was perfect, and Steven said, "We spent a couple of hours, take after take, of just me coming down the alley. We spent a couple of hours doing that, and about a half hour on the dialogue." Scully played an important part in the episode. Her descent into paranoia drove the second and third act, but despite how dramatic her role was, Gillian didn't see it as being all that difficult. It's odd because it's big emotionally, but I'm not in it all that much because I disappear for a short period of time. The stuff that I am in is dramatic, and the challenge is to lay it out in a believable way without going too overboard. Hopefully it all cuts together okay. Throughout the third season, there have been a few jabs at David's loss on Jeopardy. It seems the crew like to have fun and remind him, like when Scully finds the trunk of VHS tapes. Someone on the crew labeled one Jeopardy because they can't let the poor guy live it down. This episode also features a running in-joke with the producers, which I never knew about until doing some research for this video. So the neighbor that was shot by the woman who thought her husband was cheating was named John Gilnitz. Apparently, this is an amalgamation of 3 X-Files writers/producers, John Sheban, Vince Gilligan, and Frank Spotnitz. Now I guess this name appears in at least 5 other episodes, and when the time comes, let's see if I remember. Wetwired is somewhat of a standalone and mythology mix, and doesn't really offer any new notable guest stars. I'd say the most well-known would be Colin Cunningham, who only had a couple very brief scenes as Dr. Stroman, but he can be found in a lot of stuff, including Preacher, Falling Skies, and Stargate SG-1 as Major Paul Davis. You know, I've noticed this show seems to have a lot of Stargate actors. Wetwired currently has an 8.3 on IMDb. I really like this one, so I'll probably go with an 8 as well. It's a really solid episode, and like I mentioned, a more thought out version of Blood. Next up, we have the season finale. After Mulder's mother suffers from a stroke, he tracks down a man capable of healing through touch alone. In the episode, Talita Kumi. So what do you think of Wetwired? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you so much for the support, and stay spooky.
Something's turning innocent people into killers. And Scully may be next.
You're one of them.
A brand new X-Files coming up next.